on my husband Ted Turner's ranch in New Mexico. And we were headed back to headquarters, me and about 7 cowboys in the back of a pickup truck leaning against hay bales. And suddenly it hit me, holy cow. Tomorrow I'm going to be 59, which means in a year I'm going to be 60. Figuring maybe I'll have 30 more years after that, and dividing my life into thirds, I realized this is my third act. I have a year until I begin my third act. Third acts are important. Have you ever been to a play when the first 2 acts you're thinking, what did the playwright have in her head? What on earth is this? And then along comes the third act, and it all gets pulled together, and it all ends up making sense. Third acts are important. I knew that I wasn't scared of getting to the end of my third act and dying. At least I didn't think I was, and I still don't think I'm afraid of dying. My dad took a long time to die, and I would sit by his bedside and think a lot about it, death. And I realized that what does frighten me a lot is getting to the end of life with regrets when it's too late to do anything about it. Really afraid of that. And on that drive in the back of the pickup truck, it occurred to me that in order to really know how to live my third act so as to minimize regrets, I needed to understand what the first 2 acts had been about. I really needed to see where I'd been so I'd know where I should go to make it all add up. You know, you don't hit the middle of your third act like around 70 and say, one of these days I'm going to get my act together. You know, I didn't want to be like Christopher Columbus, who didn't know where he was going when he left, didn't know where he was when he got there, and didn't know where he'd been when he got back. So by the time we got back to headquarters, I knew what I was going to do, and this was the important life decision that I was referring to. I decided that I was going to research myself very objectively to try to see who I really was, who I had been during those early foundational years, independent of how I was made to feel. Who were my parents as people? Who were my grandparents that made my parents who and what they were? Why did they behave the way they did? Why did I always feel I wasn't good enough? I did the research during that summer when Ted Turner and I would spend time fishing in Montana. I always had a suspicion that he bought a lot of ranches with a lot of rivers, and then he would train the fish to bite his line. But we had a routine. We'd get up in the morning and we'd put on our fishing vests, and I would sneak my laptop into the back seat. I didn't want Ted to know that I was going to research myself and figure this all out because, well, you know how men are.
Yeah.
You don't want to not focus on them. Ted is a really good man, but you know, still he's a man. So I didn't let him know I had a laptop in the back of my vest, and we would drive out to whatever part of the river he had decided we were going to fish that day, and we'd get out of the car and he'd go in one direction and I'd go in the other, and we'd plan to meet 3 hours later and lie about it. And I'd wait until he was out of sight, and then I'd sit down up against a tree or a rock, pull out my laptop and start to think and make notes. And I often would have brought old interviews, and you know, my dad took a lot of home movies, and I've been a public figure since I was 20, and that's a long time ago. So there's a lot of material, and in case I forgot anything recent, there's always the 23,000 pages of FBI files.
God, I love her.
As this arc of my life up to the beginning of my third act started to come together, I thought, well, maybe I could actually make like a little 20-minute video to show it. My Ted was going to give me a 60th birthday party. I was going to show it. Now my daughter is among many other things, a documentary filmmaker. I asked her to help me make a film about myself, and she said, well, why don't you just get a chameleon and let it crawl across the screen?